Burgin basketball coach Don Irvine, former coach at Augusta High School. And Don, good to talk to you. You're back on the bench at Burgin.
Third time's a charm, I hope. I'm tickled to death to be back. I had the opportunity when Coach Kirk went back to Augusta. The administration asked me if I'd be interested in stepping in because they really didn't have any teaching spots open, and I thought about it for a little bit, and I was tickled to death.
It's a small world. Brian Kirk's a young guy when you're at Augusta. He's the coach there for you at Burgin, and he gets to come back home. It's crazy how these things work out.
It is. You never know whose path you'll cross when you in this profession. Brian, when I retired in 2012 down here, Brian was interested in the job, and I knew being from a small school, he'd have a good feel for the program, good feel for the community. So I was tickled when he got it, and after I retired, some things changed in our dynamics, and I wished I was back in doing something, but I wanted to stay out Brian's way and let him have his own program. And then I had a chance to come back to Augusta this last year just as athletic director, and that was a real good. We had a good relationship with Brian. Everything went well, and then when he had the chance to go home, he had to jump on it, and I didn't blame him at all. But I was fortunate to get to see him again for 3 years after coaching him in high school.
Yeah, let's just talk about your journey twice at Augusta, now 3 times at Burgin. Just talk about how you got into coaching and how you've made these changes. And I know you had a couple of jobs with girls programs at bigger schools, but you've been a small school coach.
I have. That's just kind of what I want to do. Even when I was playing high school basketball down in Pulaski County, which was a good-sized school, a lot of my friends went out to the smaller schools. I just really liked going out there, the atmosphere they had, that if one of them beat us, they were so excited and we were so disappointed. And it seemed like that they cherished their rewards a little bit more at a smaller school and we more was with our disappointment. We had to deal with more disappointment when things didn't come out completely on top. And I just like that mindset. That's not for everybody, but that's what I decided to do. So when I had a chance to start out as a head coach at Augusta, then that's what I loved it. And then we just made some rounds due to some family things and just some things that popped up in our life. But I was fortunate enough. I made enough friends and I guess did enough of the right things. I was fortunate to be hired back when I had the opportunity. So good thing is I was never forced out. I just was always leaving on my own and was fortunate to get second chances and even third chances on this one.
I know you told me at one time you almost ended up on the Mason County staff.
I did. When I first took my job at Augusta back in, 1984 or 5 or something, that's when Alan and Feldhouse and Fred were coaching up there, and they needed a freshman coach. And I'd interviewed with Mr. Felice and also at Augusta, and I had another job as an assistant coach. So I talked to my father, who wasn't a basketball man. He was just a farmer, a good fellow. He said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I always want to be a head coach. He said, well, then that ought to answer your question. So I took the job at Augusta. Could have been at Mason County. Mason went to the finals or Final Four of the state tournament that year, I think, and the other school went to the finals of the region, and we won 7 games at Augusta. And so I talked to my dad later. He goes, well, what'd you ask me for? I don't know anything about basketball.
What about coming back to school? Like you had that first tour at Augusta, then you came back. I know you had a 15-10 year that one season, your second time at Augusta, but just coming back to school, you kind of know what to expect.
You do. I like that familiarity. That's one reason I wanted to take. I was willing to take this Burgin job back, because I knew the kids, and you just grow like a real attachment when you're in a K through 12. And I'm sure you do at other schools as well, but I just know in these K through 12s, you get to see these kids. You have them in class when they're in elementary school. You've coached or taught their brothers and their sisters and their parents. So you feel like you have a little bit more stronger bond with that. And like I said, I just like to see them succeed and get a lot of satisfaction out of myself. Like we said, the year we won 15 at Augusta, during that period of time, there had been several years where they hadn't won any games or only won 4 or 5. So, that may be a mediocre year for some people, but that was a really nice year for us, and had a very competitive ball team back then. And they've done great. They've been on a great run here in the last 4 or 5 years, but it hasn't always been that way. And I feel proud about what we accomplished with the players we had then.
I was going to ask you, how closely have you followed Augusta's success these last few years?
I have. Just being, I guess you wouldn't call yourself an alum, even though they send me an alumni letter all the time. But I guess when you're there twice, they consider you to be an alumni. But I've been really tickled with the program. Robin Kelch is the principal and was the coach there, and Robin played for me also. Now Brian's going to be there, and I'll follow him. So there's still that bond that you have there. And then the people, the Bach boy that played, I coached his brother and was great friends with his parents. So there's a lot of connection. So it's not just a school thing, but it's a people thing. And that's what I've cherished out of coaching more than anything, just the relationship I've had with a lot of these people. I know that sounds cliche, but it's true. If you don't enjoy the people you're around, it's not for the money. You know that.
George Clooney was in town last week. He shot some hoops at the Augusta gym with Brent Bach. Did he ever come around when you were the coach there?
He came, but he never showed off his shooting skills with us or anything. I had to watch ER on TV to watch him shoot. I know he was one of the people. I don't want to really rag on George here, but I think he won one game when he was the postman. He's not a very big guy either, so he's one of the people we were trying to change the culture a little bit. As famous as George is and as great things he's done, he'd probably like to win a few more games when he was starting postman at Augusta.
I actually did one of his games when Augusta played at St. Patrick, and I said, boy, I would love to find a tape of that game.
Well, I know we had some fundraisers for a while there that we were selling old uniforms during when they had their fall festivals and stuff, and it was amazing, back before you had to certify everything you sold. It's amazing how many different numbers George had for sale purposes. There's a lot of people running around are pretty sure they were in the ownership of George Clooney's high school basketball jersey.
Pretty good fundraiser.
I'd like to think so. We put the money into the athletic program. George wasn't as big at that point as he is now. I'd say those things would go a little higher now than they did then.
We're talking Don Irvine, former coach at Augusta. He's back at Burgin. You talked a little bit about their K through 12, but what makes Burgin special? And when you go back 3 times, I've not been to Burgin. That's going to be on my bucket list. I got to get down there, and maybe I could see a game sometime. But just tell us a little bit about Burgin.
Well, it don't rank up with a Duke, North Carolina, or a Boston, New York Yankee game or anything, but we'd always be glad to have you come through. We've got a little flashing light in the middle of town. It's not like an Augusta. Augusta's kind of like in a fishbowl where everybody's really close together. Burgin's more of like a community that goes all the way down to the lake, Lake Harrington, which is one of the good recreational spots for fishing and for boating we have down here. And it's kind of a spread out community. You really don't know where downtown Burgin is. I just call it around where the flashing light. But they're still a close knit because everybody in the community knows one another, and they're still centered around the school. And that's what's great about a K-12 is there's a lot of projects going on with elementary as well as high school, and you get to see a lot of the same people at all these different functions. You don't just see them when they get to high school events and all. So we have our pep rallies and stuff, and we invite all of them. If it's not cool for the high school to be yelling and doing things, the elementary is sure to take over and have a big time at it, and vice versa for some of the things. So high school people help out with field day and for the young kids. So it's just a real family type atmosphere, no matter if you're just like in a little area or you're kind of spread out.
I got on Wikipedia and a couple of famous people from Burgin. Marie McDonald, a singer and actress, and Jack Coleman, who played at the University of Louisville and played in the NBA.
Jack Coleman's who our gym's named after. Now, the singer I'm not real familiar with, but I wasn't really into the arts department too much here. Jack, he played for University of Louisville. He won a couple world championships playing for a couple of the. He played for the St. Louis Hawks and the Rochester Royals and some of those people. Jack, he's in the Hall of Fame at Louisville, so he was a big contributor. In fact, he used to run a lumber yard here in town. His son, Jack Jr., was a state representative for a while, and his granddaughter, Jacqueline's actually the girls' coach at East Jessamine High School. So there's a good family tradition there. We also, one of the ladies that runs the Pioneer Playhouse in Danville, which if nobody's ever visited, it's a great place to watch a summer performance. She's one of our Henson lady. She's one of our distinguished alumni. We've done well for a small school. Probably don't have like Miss America or George out of here, but I've been blessed for a couple of these places that I've been's had some very famous alumni. In fact, George's mother's from Perryville, which is only about 10 miles from Burgin. So there's a Clooney connection down here as well.
We talked about a small world. And for the school, I saw on the website, Proficient High Progress District.
Yeah, but it is, and it's a great place. Both of my sons graduated from here. They were fortunate to go to Augusta, and then we transferred into another small school, which was good for them. They both played high school sports, turned out to be pretty nice athletes, and I believe they'd probably got cut if they had been to some bigger schools, but they had a chance to develop and do well here. They've got a lot of people going to college and been doctors, and just a great base for your education, and you can get about out of education what you want to do, whether it's a big school or a small school. But we don't get too caught up in numbers, because when you have a small populace, you can have a couple kids blow the test off the map, and you look like you're distinguished, or you have a couple knuckleheads that don't do as well, and you become very novice. So we don't get real caught up, because when you got 20, 25 in a class, those numbers can swing greatly, and you still be doing the same good things you're doing every day. But so we deal more with people business than we do all those stats. So we enjoy the successes, but we don't get caught up when they act like that we're a failure in anything.
Coach Buchanan has left Mason County to come to Mercer County as the football coach. How close are Burgin and Harrodsburg?
We're about 4 miles apart, so that'll be my home football school. We don't have football here. More people will probably go watch the Mercer County Danville football game than with the Burgin KSD football game. So we haven't had football. We did have some six-man champs back in the 40s and 50s. We've got a couple of state championship trophies for football, but we really don't have the numbers and the facilities to do that. But we're 4 or 5 miles away, so I'll get to see Coach Buchanan over at the Titan Stadium this winter. I enjoy watching a good high school football game, and he'll do great there. They'll give him a lot of support, and he'll do a fantastic job. We're glad to have him in the area. Good fella.
Talk about the two girls coaching jobs that you had there.
The girls coaching jobs?
Yes.
Like with Mercer and Burgin, or
were you Western Hills and Garrett?
Oh, my coaching jobs. Well, the story was, my dad was really sick in 2012, and I was going to retire and take him back to Somerset, build his house back up, and stay with him. I had my years in, and I thought, I'd walk away from this. Well, about the last week of school, he passes away, so I'm retired. My wife's still working, and I'm just like, man, I really don't wish I hadn't have done this. So I had a friend call me at Western Hills about September or October, and asked me if I'd be interested in doing girls basketball. Well, I'd done it a little bit at Augusta, and I'd done them at the same time one time at Burgin. So I went to Western Hills, loved Frankfort, loved the people I worked with, and really it was a good environment. It was a little bit farther for a drive than I wanted to do just to coach. So Garrett County is the next county over from us. They called me and asked me if I'd be interested to do that. So it was closer. It was back in the region again. I was happy to go over there and do that. And when I went over, I had prostate cancer and had surgery during that year, which made it an uneasy transition. Had a lot of complications in surgery. I actually didn't know if I was going to make it through or not, and came back and coached about January or February. But the Garrett people was really concerned. They was more concerned about my health than I was. I knew I didn't take care of myself very well, but they wasn't used to that. So at that point, it was just better for me to get closer to home, and they was worried about my health. Burgin comes up and asks me, he said, hey, would you like to come back home and do this athletic director thing? So it was nothing with the basketball programs at all. I liked the schools, really enjoyed the girls, enjoyed the coaching, but just at that point, to be, 7 or 8 miles from my house rather than a county over even, for health purposes and just for comfort level, it was the best move for me. Plus they made it very convenient. It drive every day, and it actually helped save a little money. When I retired, they fixed my income, but they fixed it a little lower than I was hoping they would.
What would you tell guys about prostate cancer?
I would say check it all you can. I had one of the best doctors ever, and he just recommended not to fool with it, to get it out of there before it was to spread or anything. My prostate surgery went well, but I had some problems with anesthesia. In fact, it dealt with my pancreas. So I would tell them to do a whole lot of those pre-surgical checks and all that stuff. I would really be very thorough, because I had a great doctor went to University of Kentucky, which is a great place to have surgery for cancer surgery, because they're really good with it. But you can't prepare you can't prepare enough for the unexpected. And that was the thing that got me, is I had some reactions, some things that I hadn't had enough surgery to know what was going on. So I would really pay attention to what my doctor said, and I would really pay attention to the pre-surgical and post-surgical stuff that they have you do. I had a pretty good battle with it, not so much the cancer, but the rehabilitation and getting back to where I was at. But I'm blessed now. I'm cancer-free, and I'm so blessed that that was taken care of.
Talk about athletic director duties, and I know from talking to our area ADs, a lot of paperwork. It's not the job that it used to be.
No, sir. No, sir. And the paperwork would have been the easy thing if it wasn't all online. They put you online to make it easier on you, and that's a fallacy right there. I tell somebody as athletic director is like refereeing. They only come to you when something goes wrong. They don't walk up and tell you you've had a really good day of, scheduling this ball game and everybody's showing up on time and everything. They just come when they got a complaint. So I enjoy it because I feel like after all these years, I've got a good feeling for the pulse of the athletic program, and it keeps me in touch with all of our coaches and our student athletes a lot. And I put all I have into it, just like everybody else would as well. But no, so they're correct. I'll never miss the paperwork or the online work you have to fill out. I think the transfer form is now, I looked, is 8 pages long, and they've redone the physicals as well, which you have to sign everything, and it's more. They've got more stuff on there than your doctor will know about you. It's very in depth.
We didn't get to talk to you at the state tournament. They flip-flop sides on us there, and I saw you from a distance at one time. But I'm a little concerned about the attendance at the state tournament.
Well, I am too. One thing, I think they're pricing themselves out of it a little bit. And I think that's just a trend. I know in this area, football's still a big king down here where we're at with Boyle County and Danville and some of those and the Lexington schools being on all sides of us. But our attendance for basketball games on regular season games are really down in this area. I just think there's so many things to do. We're saturated with it on television. The NCAA is really picking up steam. I think college basketball is where it's at right now, and that coincides with the state tournament. I think when you get to schools that don't have a large following or from way across the state somewhere, I think with your prices and then you got the other activities going on, I think we're going through a real testing period right now for high school basketball and high school sports in general. I know we used to have a lot of teachers and stuff would come out and support the kids in the school, and we don't see there's so much going on even with the teaching staff. If you don't kind of encourage them to come or make them come almost, you don't even have a lot of your populace to see these kids on a daily basis. People are just busy now.
What are you doing summer basketball-wise with your team?
We're playing in June. We're playing mostly games. With me just taking them over, I wanted to get a chance to see them, and they don't. The turnout is not as great. They seem to have summer jobs and stuff if they just have practices with no rewards. So we play mostly games. We've had 2 or 3 workouts. We'll play. We'll have some 2 scrimmage games tomorrow night. We've got like 8 games, 4 days of 2 games each next week. 1 more at home the last week before the dead period, and then we'll take off. We'll encourage our kids at this school to play everything. So we'll have some cross country runners. We'll have some girls that'll play volleyball, and the ones that want to get in the gym, we'll do a lot of individual workouts until basketball practice starts.
Don, it's always good to talk to you. I am going to come to Burgin. I've got your number now, so some weekend you might have me on your doorstep.
Oh, I'd be glad to have that. We've got 2 or 3 little restaurants we can take you and feed you out. There's a couple big names like the Beaumont Inn and Shakertown, but you're kind of paying for the name on some of those. Great food, great atmosphere, but I can take you to a couple that nobody really knows about, and you'll have a great time. I'll probably be up there too. I've got my son's going to be up in that area working here, and that'll come to forefront one of these days. But I'll probably be up there watching some Augusta games, and I'll bet I'll see you at the Mason County game for the year's over with.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot, Don. Have a good summer.
Thank you, Danny, very much.